Scott Docterman for The Athletic ranked college football's 100 best rivalries. And you understand who's at the top of this list. It's the usual suspect. Number 1 on the list is Ohio State and Michigan. Number 2 is Alabama and Auburn. Number 3, Oklahoma, Texas. Then RB Navy, USC, Notre Dame. Nebraska, Oklahoma at number 6. Miami, Florida State at number 7. Ohio State, Penn State at 8. Florida, Florida State at 9. And Minnesota, Wisconsin at number 10, which caught my eye a little bit. Having that over Alabama, Tennessee was a little head-scratching, but it is what it is. LSU did not appear until number 13 on this list with the Alabama Crimson Tide. That was the rivalry the Athletic thinks is the biggest among the LSU rivalries. But there are 6 LSU rivalries in the top 100. And I'm okay with all 6, but there is an egregious omission in the top 100. And I think that if I had a chance to plead my case to Scott Docterman, he might understand where I'm coming from here. But let me go through them briefly and tell you which rivalry has been omitted. LSU-Bama is at number 13. The second one, you have to get to number 43 in the country. That is LSU and Ole Miss. Certainly, the rivalry with Ole Miss goes back a long, long time. In the 50s, it was ferocious. And still to this day is a big-time rivalry. It was the best environment in Tiger Stadium this past year when LSU and Ole Miss got together, largely thanks to Mother Nature just dumping all over the LSU-Alabama game. But still a great rivalry in college football. Number 48 is Arkansas. I would not have LSU-Arkansas as the third best rivalry among the LSU rivalries. It is a rivalry. I think it's foolish when LSU fans completely dismiss it. There was a time there where LSU, late in Les's tenure, was struggling to beat Arkansas. So I feel like it is a rivalry. I don't need the big goofy trophy. You don't have to tell me that it's completely insignificant. And like it's a game that we played at the end of the year every year for 2 decades. Like, it's a rivalry.
And we don't need to play it in War Memorial Stadium either.
No, that was awful. I went there probably 3 times. Not great. Was there for the what's the name of it? The Miracle on Markham. There it is. Yeah, I was there for that. Not fun. And then there was a Ryan Mallett game I was there for that was not fun as well. But there was one that was fun. I think that we won. I can't remember. But yeah, terrible venue. Awful venue. Doesn't need to be played there. But that was LSU and Arkansas, number 48. Number 64, LSU and Florida. Obviously, a game that was kind of forced by the league office when they went to permanent opponents. They're like, all right, well, Georgia and Auburn, you got each other. And, okay, Alabama and Tennessee, you've got each other. Well, that kind of leaves LSU and Florida among the big boys. So y'all go play every year. And then Steve Spurrier went nuts. Like that was the genesis of it. But LSU's kind of owned that rivalry of late. Last year it didn't go well. But prior to that, LSU had just owned Florida for about 6 years. But a great rivalry, a lot of stories, a lot of tradition, a lot of pros. And the morning show guys will tell you it's their favorite game that they played in as an LSU tandem. Number 71, LSU and Texas A&M. Now, this is a rivalry that predates A&M joining the SEC. Of course, LSU and Texas A&M played annually early in seasons for a number of years. And when you then put the game at the end of the season, it took on some added significance. You had Les Miles being carried off the field, and you had, the ridiculous 28 team that had 1 billion overtimes and the fight that ensued after that. And you look at geography, you look at brand recognition, you look at the time of year that game was played. Like, yeah, that's a rivalry. It's okay. I'm okay if you add that in. And then the last one on the list, number 100, is LSU and Mississippi State. That is LSU's longest standing rivalry. It's the team that LSU has played the most times in its football history. I wouldn't suggest it's the most storied rivalry ever. It's been very one-sided. LSU has handled business in a big way in that rivalry. In fact, let me look at the numbers on that. I know for sure because I did this at Plucker Sports Trivia like a year and a half ago. It's the team that LSU has beaten the most times. LSU is 78, 36, and 3 in the 117 meetings. So Tigers have handled Mississippi State pretty good. But if you'll notice, as I rolled through those games, LSU-Auburn not on there. And I just can't live in that world. There is no world to me where LSU-Arkansas or LSU-Mississippi State, really LSU A&M, is a better rivalry than LSU and Auburn, when you look at all the ridiculous stories, the barn burn and the earthquake and the interception game, and even some more recently with the last play of the Les Miles era in the back of the end zone, and Leonard Fournette's ridiculous running, and then Bo Nix snapping the streak that LSU had won a bajillion in a row over 2 decades, and you're talking about the cigar game, and there's just so many storylines that drip through that old SEC West rivalry in 2 great venues with 2 classic brands and unbelievable players, Cam Newton and Joe Burrow. Like, it's just, to me, that's got to be on the list. And to have it omitted when you're talking about just LSU, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Texas A&M, not to mention the fact that we got games on here like Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, Richmond versus William and Mary, Williams versus Amherst, which I think was the first game ever. Talking about Mount Union versus Wisconsin Whitewater. That's the FCS level. Sorry, Maryland and Virginia does not trump LSU and Auburn. So I don't know how this was omitted. I don't know if it was discussed and then left out. I don't know if it was improperly researched. But like, LSU and Auburn is certainly one of the great rivalries from the Southeastern Conference. And it has the storylines to back it up, and the national championships to back it up, and the Heisman trophies to back it up. I mean, to not have that game listed is just an omission in my estimation. So I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to criticize the ranking here, I need to take LSU's rivalries and list them 1 to 5 and see where I would put them. And Beck, we'll see if you agree with this, but I've got LSU, and I realize that there is a bit of recency bias that can creep in. I tried to be more objective going back 50 years instead of 10 because their coaches come and go and eras come and go, and so I tried to be respectful of the entire history of the rivalry. So I put LSU and Alabama at 1. You had the Charlie Mack and Bear Bryant years, and then you've had the Saban Miles, Saban Ogeron years. You have the national championships. You have the game of the century. Like, it's just, that's number 1 to me. LSU will never be Alabama's chief rivalry. They got Auburn and Tennessee that they're worried about over there. But for LSU, when you look at the rivalry, the story, the background of it, it's LSU and Alabama to me at number 1. I put Auburn second. Like, I think there would be plenty of folks that would suggest that my number 3 should be number 2. Auburn was just added LSU schedule late in the SEC relative to everything. They didn't join the schedule every year until the 90s. But you look at the history that I just went through with all those games that have names attached to them. And it's just, to me, there was a period there in my childhood where the winner of that LSU-Auburn game was going to Atlanta. Now, Saban put an end to all that, but there's just too many storylines for me to dismiss that. So I put Auburn second. I put Ole Miss third. There's so much history there, but Ole Miss has never won the West. They've never been in a playoff. LSU and Ole Miss really only played for massive stakes in my lifetime the one time when Eli fell down. I'm very, very respectful of the 50s and think that means a ton. But I bump Ole Miss down 1 peg beyond Auburn to number 3. And then I got Florida at number 4. Florida actually was on LSU's schedule a lot early on, but Florida was a mess until Spurrier came and cleaned it up. And then Spurrier just dusted LSU for a decade before LSU got its feet under it with Saban and then started to punch back. And you look now from 2000 to now, that's a slobber knocker, and it's an incredible rivalry. It's the deal with, like, not a lot of LSU fans know a lot of Florida fans. The states are pretty separate. Like, I feel like most people in their circles have some Ole Miss folks or some Mississippi State folks. You probably know somebody that went to school there or went over to Texas A&M. I don't know anybody that went to Florida. Like, I don't know a single person. I don't have anyone in my friend group or my extended family that's a Florida Gator. So that part of it, I think, is a little bit of a drawback. But on the field with the brands, I think Florida is massive. And for number 5, I put Arkansas. I put Arkansas over Texas A&M. I put Arkansas over Mississippi State. That game carried a lot of weight at the end of the season a lot of times. And you look at that 2011 game that was massively impactful. I think that game, probably because of where it was on the schedule, created a pretty good rivalry. And I think that especially for those in North Louisiana, you know more people that have gone up to Arkansas. I did know folks that went to Arkansas. So that's the order for me. Bama 1, Auburn 2, Ole Miss 3, Florida 4, Arkansas 5. Where did I make an egregious mistake back?
I don't know that there's an egregious mistake in there. I think I'd have Florida a little higher, just because. And again, like a lot of these rivalries really didn't pick up a lot until the 90s when the SEC we had the reformation of the SEC and you're playing these guys, every year. So I think Alabama is definitely number 1. And then after that, it's kind of pretty
generational.
Even. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You got, if you're in your 70s and 80s, like Ole Miss.
Yeah.
If you're in your 50s and 60s, Alabama. If you're in your teens, Alabama.
Yeah.
If you're in your 30s, Auburn.
Yes.
Like that's where that generally has gone. And Florida is right there if you're in your 30s as well. The Urban Meyer, Les Miles battles after the Spurrier-Saban battles were pretty impactful, but it was a pretty condensed period of time as opposed to what you're looking at with Ole Miss and Tulane, if you want to go back that far.
Right.
But to me, and I just can't believe that they put together, it listed the top 100 rivalries and did not put LSU and Auburn on there. That seems impossible.
Well, yeah, and then and of course I understand if it's someone who doesn't really know or isn't really in the know with LSU, then they would pick Mississippi State and LSU because they've played for so long. But it's super lopsided. It's never been that interesting of a rivalry in terms of how many really good games there's been. But with LSU and Auburn, they haven't played. They probably played half as many times as that rivalry, but there's just so much more history with how many great games they played.
And I get you want to share the wealth, and you don't want to just put all the SEC teams, and you want to go ahead and give TCU and Baylor their love, and Lafayette and Lehigh their love, and you want to throw, let's see, Notre Dame, Michigan State on there, whatever. Like, I get it, but then take LSU and Mississippi State, take LSU and Mississippi State off, take LSU and A&M off, and put Auburn on there. It's got to be in any list of the top 100 rivalries in college football. To me, it's one of the top 25 rivalries in college football based on the storylines throughout the years. So that's just my 2 cents on it. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.